Welcome back to High Stakes. Elevate your game by subscribing to our channel so you never miss our daily content. For exclusive access to our premium betting picks, join our Patreon. Find the link in the comments section below. Stay ahead with High Stakes. New York Jets versus Tennessee Titans. The Titans have won only once against the spread in their previous 4 games in front of the home crowd. They struggled ATS down the stretch, pushing or losing 7 of their final 10 games of 2023, and they also lost in Week 1 of 2024. Both squads ranked near the bottom of the NFL in multiple key offensive categories last season, but the Jets are projected to be much improved with a healthy Aaron Rodgers under center. Rodgers. Levis managed only 127 yards through the air and was picked off twice in his 2024 debut. The Titans have won only once against the spread in their last 5 regular season games. New York has a significant edge on defense in this matchup, ranking 3rd in the league last season in average yards allowed per game with 292.3 versus a bottom-half ranking for the Titans. Despite their poor record, the Jets won 3 of their last 5 games to close out the 2023 season. The stats and trends strongly support the Jets covering on the road versus the Titans on Sunday. Take the Jets giving the points. The Titans went under the point total in 2 of their previous 3 games at Nissan Stadium, and their offense was limited to 17 points or less in 3 of 4 contests to close out the 2023 season. They also went under the point total in the first game of the new season and were held to 17 points by the Bears. Both squads had ineffective offenses last year, averaging less than 18 points per game and ranking near the bottom of the league in multiple key categories, so the odds either team scores quickly in bunches are low. Only 3 teams scored less per game than the Jets last season, and they were held to 10 points or less in 6 games. Despite their tough year overall, the Jets' defense excelled in 2023, ranking 3rd in the league in average yards allowed per game and in the top half of the league in average points allowed per game. So look for the Titans to face an uphill battle in adding a significant amount of points to the board. Most signs point to a lower scoring affair in Tennessee on Sunday. Take the under. San Francisco 49ers versus Minnesota Vikings, heading back to a MetLife Stadium field that was often a nightmare for him during a difficult early career with the Jets. Sam Darnold looked like a quarterback out for redemption throughout a strong Vikings debut. The veteran connected with Justin Jefferson, 3 yards, and Jalen Nailor, 21 yards, for his 2 touchdown passes, and his 12 consecutive completions to open the game-tied franchise stalwart Fran Tarkenton's record in that category. San Francisco has lost 7 straight road games against the Vikings. Darnold had the perfect game environment to ease into his new role thanks in part to a dominant defensive performance by Minnesota, and although they are facing a much better defense, Minnesota will keep it close enough to beat the number. The Niners got the run game going in a big way against a Jets defense that looked ill-prepared. Minnesota's defense played well last season amid poor quarterback play, and their roster is equipped to shut down the Niners' run game. Last season, the 49ers were -7-point favorites in Minnesota Week 7 and lost 22-17 in a game where Brock Purdy threw 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. McCaffrey had arguably his worst game of the season, averaging 3.0 yards per rush on 15 carries. He is questionable to suit up here, but I do not expect McCaffrey or Mason to get much going on the ground. Take the under. Cleveland Browns versus Jacksonville Jaguars. After a catastrophic end to the 2023 season that saw the Jacksonville Jaguars go from a borderline postseason lock at 8-3 to an absolute collapse that watched them drop 5 of their last 6 games and miss the playoffs completely, the Jags were hoping for a restart in Week 1 this season. Instead, Jacksonville saw a replay of their 2023 season condensed into 1 game, as the Jags opened up a 2-touchdown lead and took a 10-points lead deep into the 3rd quarter, only to get shut out in the second half and blow the game to their in-state rivals the Miami Dolphins as time expired on a Jason Sanders 52-yard game-winning field goal. Trevor Lawrence struggled in the second half, but maintained a respectful enough line, completing 57% of his passes, averaging about 8 yards an attempt and threw a touchdown with 0 interceptions. The Jags definitely found more success in their ground game, however, with second-year back Tank Bigsby stealing the show as he rushed for 73 yards on 12 carries in this one, good for an average of over 6 yards per rush. On Sunday afternoon, I am taking the Jacksonville Jaguars at home -3 over the visiting Cleveland Browns. Neither team got off to the Week 1 start they were hoping for, but the Jaguars certainly come into this matchup with more they can build off of from last week. The Jags played well for much of the game in Miami, but failed to maintain their consistency down the stretch. If the Jags can play like they did for the first 2.5 quarters of Week 1 for an entire game, they should be good to go. The Browns, on the other hand, were a disaster from start to finish in Week 1, getting walloped at home, a place that they went 8-1 last season. With Jacksonville having a notoriously strong fan base at home and Cleveland's woes away from their home stadium last season, the Jags should easily be able to cover a 3-point spread. I have got the under of 41.5 between these two teams on Sunday. They combined for just 34 points in Week 1, and until they can prove that was not an aberration, I feel good about the under. Deshaun Watson looked terrible last week, averaging less than 4 yards per passing attempt while attempting 45 throws against the Cowboys. His top target in Week 1, David Njoku, has already been ruled out for this weekend as well. The Browns' run game, while not great in Week 1, fared better, but that was Jacksonville's defense looked good last week against the run. Trevor Lawrence wasn't terrible in Week 1, but did not look like he was on the verge of carrying his team to an offensive explosion either at any point versus Miami. Indianapolis Colts versus Green Bay Packers. The Indianapolis Colts have always had solid complementary pieces, but it wasn't until they landed Anthony Richardson in the 2023 NFL Draft that people began to take notice of what a talented squad this can be. With 7 scores and 3 turnovers, a solid start in 4 games a year ago before injury. Now, the 22-year-old is back on the field and began the 2024 campaign in fantastic fashion, accounting for 268 total yards and 3 touchdowns, although his 1 interception was crucial in the Week 1 home loss. The Green Bay Packers gave Jordan Love a massive contract extension this offseason, but unfortunately in Week 1 he went down with an injury, adding injury to insult after their defeat in Brazil. After appearing in just 1 game a season ago, this one was the Jaden Reed show for Green Bay, with the 24-year-old having a career day with 4 catches for 138 yards and 1 score, with 1 carry for 33 yards on top of that, with their rushing numbers on the day coming in at 163 total yards. Had Jordan Love been 100% healthy after Week 1, this would be a completely different story, but with a 4-1 record in their past 5 meetings, the last of which came in 2020, and a fully healthy roster, the Colts come into this one as a very tight favorite. Away from home, the Colts are 3-2 in their past 5 games, and with the Packers turning to Malik Willis, who is yet to throw a touchdown in 12 NFL appearances thus far with the Titans, this puts them at a major disadvantage and will lead them to an 0-2 start, with their running game not being quite enough to help them in this one. While the loss of Jordan Love hurts the Packers, both of these teams have stellar run games, with both going over 100 yards a week ago, and with Willis's only strength being his run game. The only TD of his career thus far came on the ground. They should both be able to put up plenty of points in this crucial game as they both aim to avoid an 0-2 start. For the Colts, the over sits at 6-4 in their past 10 overall games, with 22.8 points per game in that stretch, most of which came without a rich under center, and for the Packers, the over is 8-2 in their past 10 games, with the defense allowing 23 points or more in 7 of those games. Keep it simple, take the over.